What's up, guys? Dr. Mo here, digital nomad physician at digitalnomadphysician.com. I thought I would give you guys an update on the clinic. I've talked to the city multiple times now, and I totally understand it's the whole process of permitting is complicated, is complex. And where we're at now, you haven't been able to listen to the newest podcast episode because it hasn't been published yet, but usually on the podcast, I share those details. And right now, we're kind of stuck with this HVAC system. And the problem is once you start the permitting process, you sort of have to finish it. It's not like in the middle you can say, I changed my mind, I don't want to do it. For those of you who are new, the clinic is a physical space. It used to be a retail space, and now it's going to be converted into a walk-in clinic. It's 500 square feet in a properly zoned area, but it had a few things missing. Now, it had an actual room that can be turned into an exam room, but it needed a door, and it had a ramp that was ADA compliant. The bathroom is not ADA compliant. It had a small, compact AC unit over the door. Over the main entry is pretty ghetto, so that's not going to work. And so one thing that I'm doing is installing an HVAC system, so a mini split. So it's going to have a compressor unit on the roof. It's going to have two air handling units inside, one for the main area, the waiting room, and one for the clinic area. And this is where the nightmare began, essentially. The city is asking for a mechanical permit for the AC, which makes sense. They're asking for plumbing because the air handlers in the inside, those things that have the remote, they usually create condensate that has to be pumped somewhere, has to go somewhere. So they're going to need a whole plumbing code for that. And they're going to need an electrical code to run the electrical lines to these units and to the one in the roof. Another place we're getting stuck is because we need a door to add to the existing opening. The fire department and safety are all involved, and they're like, nope, we have to sign off on this. And if we don't sign off on it, you can't do it. And it's an egress issue if people can't exit properly, etc. I get it, it's true. But the process to get the permit done is really difficult. So initially I did the drawings myself, they accepted it. But now I got replies back from safety, fire, and now mechanical, who are saying these drawings have to be, we need all these modifications to the drawing, which is normal. You usually get modification requests. But it's like so nuanced, like you didn't put your business name at the bottom right corner. There's no space for you to sign it. There is no, you needed to include this. You got to label these like this. You got to add these two words here on the left upper side. The spacing of the PDF has to be this. The margins have to be that. And everything like this takes a long time. And so what I did is I have a drafting person, a CAD person, CAD, Erwin. Erwin's wonderful. And Erwin has been going through all of this with me, and he's created everything. But every single time we're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He's like, but that's what the city wants. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's what he does for a living. And he's like, it doesn't make any sense what they're requesting. And so we're going to do our own thing, but now we got to submit it to the city. And we're going to submit the request that they made. Then they're going to make new requests, back and forth, back and forth. And all of this takes time. And every time I send this back to the city, it takes another 10 days to get a reply. And of course, when you have multiple departments, you got mechanical saying that, no, fire has to sign off on this before we can sign off on this. I just found out that they expected me to pay for my business license, even though they haven't approved me to have a permit. So unfortunately, I got two big late fees, turning a $380 medical or business license into an $800 business license. And they're not going to cancel it because they're like, it's your responsibility. So I can pay that money and I may never get a license, and I'm not going to get that money refunded. But everything's dependent on everything else. So it's the chicken and the egg. Like if they don't approve it, they don't approve it. So they need to approve it. So I got to tell this department like, hey, they don't approve it. And they don't communicate with each other. So I'm the responsible to call each and every one of them. So you might say, well, why don't you just bring in a contractor? The problem with a contractor is this is kind of a smaller job. This is not a $150,000 build out, might not even get to $50,000 build out. And so not a lot of contractors are willing to put in all the other effort that it takes to handle all of the back and forth with the city. So now it's kind of come to a point where I'm not really going to have the time, but the patients that I have, my medical practice that I'm seeing, my clients, my health coaching clients, and my patients, I'm not really going to be able to actually do this part. So I'm going to probably farm it out to somebody else. Maybe I'll throw up some screenshots of how complicated this is and how many different drawings and things that I got to submit, how lengthy these emails are back and forth. So for anybody who's kind of considering doing this yourself, just give yourself time and probably have somebody who can kind of help you, walk you through it. I've used ChatGPT a little bit to help me kind of make sense of some of the terminology they're using. Overall, nothing is really complicated. The problem is when you want to draft a PDF in a certain way, to do it, you have to have the kind of software that's going to create those margins and it's like 24 inch by 36 inch, and then to expand one section to fit into this other section, and the fonts have to be a certain size. I mean, that's everything that they're requesting, to have a place for the signature, to have a place for the for my name and my business address, and every one of these things is very, very tedious. And of course, drawing all the proper, the way the bathroom looks now, and like where are you going to position it, and what's the distance, what's the depth, what's the ceiling height from this to this. So all of that has to be done. So